So I wanted to look into statistics between the earnings of men, women, different races, things like that. Is there anything I could tease out to better understand that if I wanted to give somebody advice, what should they do to increase their earnings over their life? So this is the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics, and this shows that women had a median weekly earning of $902 versus $1,104 for men. So when I look a little further, in actuality, Asian women actually make more than all men in total. So what could it be that sets certain groups apart from others? And I wanted to look into education, hours worked, things like that to better understand this and see if there's something that I can tease out of the statistics that could actually be actionable and used by people to make more money. So if you look at the 2022 median household income for the average across all races, ethnicities, gender, everything, it's about $75,000 a year, which I've seen that statistic very often. If you look at Asian Americans, they make about $109,000 a year. Caucasian Americans about $81,000 a year. Hispanic about $63,000, and African American around $53,000. Is there anything in here that we could tease out to help us understand how can we have a higher level of earnings? This isn't just a one-year thing. This has been going on at least, the data is going back over 30-something years. So if you're looking at education across all levels, that comes out to a similar number. The family does not have someone with a high school diploma. It's basically half of the average. If someone has a high school diploma, basically that household income goes up by almost $17,000. If someone has some college or associate's degrees, that goes up another $17,000. So if the household has someone with a bachelor's degree or more, basically that's a $50,000 increase for that household. This is giving some evidence that the higher level of education leads to higher income in that household. If we look and break it out by sex, basically we have men and women. The men are making more here. Why would men make $62,000 and why would the women make $52,000? So let's go a little bit further in the statistics and see if there's anything we can tease out that I can at least help my daughter when she graduates in terms of how to make more money. The other major impact here is basically 6 out of 100 people that don't have a high school degree, they're going to be unemployed right now. If somebody has a bachelor's degree or higher, only about 2 of them out of 100 will be unemployed at this moment in time. So not only do the people with higher levels of degree find that they make more money, they also have more steady employment, or they can find employment easier. So those are other benefits. So no high school diploma, effectively the net worth is about $8,500. Someone with a high school degree basically is $55,000. Some college with no degree, $90,000. An associate's degree, $139,000. Someone with a bachelor's degree, $266,600. And a graduate or professional degree, over $500,000. So right here, this is a good reason why you should get some level of degree. Having a degree is better than no degree, and higher levels of degrees, at least to a bachelor's, sometimes master's, is very beneficial and can help build that higher net worth, basically because you have a higher income, you're unemployed less often. So if I were to speak to my daughter about this, I would say, okay, at least get, I would say, a master's degree in a STEM field, preferentially engineering or computer science. Asian Americans have the highest high school graduation rate. Girls have a slightly higher rate than boys, and you can see that across each and every one of the different groups. If you look at Caucasian Americans, slightly less than Asian Americans, and then followed by Hispanic and African Americans. Graduating high school gives your foot in the door to at least having a higher level of income. It also helps you to not be unemployed and also build your net worth. So please encourage anybody you know, stay in school. but the floor is effectively a high school graduation, a high school diploma. 53% of Asian Americans will complete at least a bachelor's degree. 39% of Caucasians will. About 19% of African Americans will attain a bachelor's degree, and about 13% of Hispanics will complete at least a bachelor's degree in the 25 to 29-year-old age range. There's 3 to 10% more females in college than there are men, and they're graduating at higher rates. So that's a really good move in the right direction to increase pay, because we just looked at the statistic, and the higher the level of education, the higher the income. So now we're going to look at what degrees are we getting. So this is the female shares of bachelor's degrees by field from 1971 to 2019. So I'm assuming that if you take 100 minus whatever this number is, that's the male counterpart of how many degrees they're getting. So if we look at this, industries dominated by females would be health professions, public admins, education, basically teachers, people working in psychology, English, foreign language, communication, biology, visual and performing arts, and then it's almost a 50-50 mix for economics, history, sociology, political science, architecture, and business. They're all pretty close. And then as we go further down, there's more men in mathematics, statistics, physical sciences, engineering, and computer science. Are there any other things that we should look at? In teaching, 89% of elementary school teachers were women in 2017 to 2018, and in secondary level, 64% of teachers were female. 94% of administrative assistants were women. 89% of clinical medical assistants are women, and caregivers in private residence, the majority of them were also women. So if we look at the U.S. workers in select occupation categories by gender, overall it's pretty close, 47% women, 53% men. When we break this out by each occupation, healthcare dominated by women, personal care, education, admin and office support, all of these are very much dominated by women and not so much by men. So I'd say food prep, legal, life, physical and social sciences, sales, and art. I would say that that's a pretty even mix of male and female. And then when we look at, say, management, farming, forestry, fishing, computers, mathematical, transportation, material moving, architecture, engineering, and construction, it starts to be more of a male-dominated area. So I want to look into, between male and female, the degrees that we're concentrated in, which ones have the highest and lowest earning potentials. So the lowest paying are basically fine arts, education, psychology. These are fairly dominated by females, but the two highest degrees in either computer sciences or engineering, these, if we go back, you actually find that these have the lowest number of females in them. So this provides some potential clues as why there may be an income gap when taking an overall average. I know a lot of places are having men and women being paid the same for the same positions, but I'm finding, at least throughout the statistics, so the highest paid degrees are effectively in engineering and computer science. The lowest degrees are, say, psychology, education, and fine arts. If I want to give my daughter the best chance of having a high income, I'm going to push to go into a STEM field. Engineering and computer science, only about 20% of the students going into those fields are female, and almost 80% are male. If I go and I look at education, psychology, and some of these things up here, they're 80% female and only about 20% male. And then when I come back and I take a look, well, now psychology, biology, education, fine arts, these make about half of what an engineer or someone in computer science would be making. I did notice in communication, if you have a bachelor's, it's not too much money, but if you make your way to a master's degree, it more than makes up for it. Some degrees I would just anticipate going at least for a master's, and I would say communications would be one of those. I would not go for a bachelor's in communications knowing that it's not going to pay off that well. And I can just go for an extra year or two and basically double my income. So 96% of all construction workers are male. You can easily make $60,000 to $100,000 a year in construction. The nice thing with construction, effectively, you can be in construction, make $60,000 to $100,000 a year. It is sometimes backbreaking labor. I used to do construction from age 12 to basically age 25. You don't need a degree, so you don't need to go to college for that. And you actually can make sometimes more than somebody with a college degree. So if you ever see dirty jobs, this is what Mike Rowe is talking about. Basically, we need more people that can fix cars. We need people that can fix houses, build houses. We have a shortage of homes right now. That's why our home prices keep going up so much. You have a limited supply and increasing demand as we have an increasing population at the moment. So one of the things I would do to take action on this is my daughter already has some interest in science, technology, engineering, mathematics, so STEM fields. I will encourage her wherever possible to go after engineering, computer science, things like that, because they will pay the most. If you want to have a good income, you not only have to graduate with a bachelor's or a master's degree, you have to choose your degree wisely. So I also work through the Society of Women Engineers to help encourage young girls basically to go into the STEM field. And I would do the same thing for my daughter and try to make math, science, engineering, computers, and things like that as interesting as possible. And I will encourage her, wherever possible, to go towards engineering, computer science, or things like that, because I know it'll pay more than double something such as psychology, education, fine arts, or biology, or any of those. And I would also suggest that just because somebody goes into engineering or computer science doesn't mean you can't take on a second major. Just remember, whether you take one bachelor's or two bachelor's or a couple of minors, it all costs basically the same amount. So for me, I learned how to do a lot of programming, which is part of engineering. I also did chemical engineering. I took a double major in chemistry, and then I also worked in economics and some other things. So I was able to secure effectively multiple degrees within the same 4 years. If you're able to do that, you're not paying out any additional money, you're not taking out any additional time, so at least you get that big payoff from whatever degree it is, such as engineering, computer science. But you can also take out your electives and take your electives towards other things that you really enjoy. For example, you need to take a history class, so if you really like art, well, you take a history and art class. Or if I really enjoy, business, I'll take some, other credits in business, and if I wanted to, I can turn that into a business minor, or potentially double major in that and take only a couple extra semesters for that. So any of these that I've gone over, I've put them in the links below so that you can look at the original data. So a couple of takeaways from all of this. I would encourage young females basically to go towards STEM fields, and I would probably veer away from biology. It doesn't pay that well. I would move towards engineering or computer science. They tend to pay the highest out of any of the degrees. That would give them the highest earning potential over their lifetime. Between computer science and engineering, they're growing fields. There's a shortage of them, so there's a lot of job opportunities in the future for those positions. Also think about, when you're doing something, think about leverage. And what I mean by leverage is, if I effectively am taking care of one person, I can only make what one person can pay me. If I make something such as in computer science, engineering, or something like that, where if I make a product, I scale it up, and I manufacture it in high quantities, I am not just serving one person, I'm serving thousands or millions of people, and then it doesn't take a lot of money from each person that I'm serving, that effectively you can make much, much more money because of that leverage. So I think education, one of the reasons why it's so low paying, the most that you can make is whatever multiple by the number of students. If each of them only has either tuition coming in or taxes or whatever it is that pays for that school, where you're only making, $2,000 a student, and you have 25 students, the most that you're going to be making is about $50,000 a year. So because you don't have a huge amount of leverage, basically education doesn't pay as much. But you can make a lot of money in education. You just remember the word leverage, such as YouTube. So if you teach classes where instead of 20 students or 30 students, you're teaching 2,000 students or 20,000 students or 2 million students, and basically you're making revenue off of each one of them, even if it's a couple of cents or $1 per student per year, effectively you can make hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. So that's why I picked up YouTube as a platform, because I saw the leverage and the systems. So that's just a different way of looking at things, and you can still have, you can still teach math classes and things like that, and that would be useful as well. So thank you for watching. If you found this interesting, please subscribe. I cover a lot of financial education topics, such as how to make more money, how to invest, and how to save.